Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. It's lovely to have you guys here with us on this Wednesday. We're back in studio. Titans have the day, well, we'll say the day off of practice. I'm sure that there are still things going on at St. Thomas Sports Park, but while they take a day off of the field, we are back in studio. Be back out there tomorrow as training camp resumes. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved this morning. We got another pair of Turn 9 passes for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix to give away. We'll do that at 11 o'clock with the dumbest thing in sports this week. Speaking of dumb things, what are you doing in here? Hi, bud.
Don't talk to Lucas like that. How dare you? How dare you? The man that keeps the show on the rails, and you want to talk to Lucas like that.
Yeah, well, if he was keeping things on the rails this morning, you would not have made it past the very, very heavy, I assume, bullet sound, bomb-proof, Oppenheimer-proof doors that we have guarding the studio. It's the only thing I feel safe and secure about in here in my life.
You said dumb. Speaking of dumb things, was there some sort of segue you were hoping to bash me about?
No, just generally your presence. It's lovely to see you. It's been a while. Have you been locked away? I guess everybody else but us has been here, so it's not like you've been literally in the shadows by yourself. It's just felt like you are because you're all the way over here while we're out on the practice field hanging out, putting Lucas in Titans Oilers jerseys, letting him take pictures like he's the little brother at the cookout, things like that.
Yeah, my guys don't leave me high and dry. Like you guys go off and have your little vacations at SEC Media Day, and I'm sure you'll go to London this year and forget about all of us common people, but that's okay. That's fine. I found real friends who really care about me. And none of this goes to you, Lucas. This is mostly all directed towards Buck. Lucas and I still have our fantastic grocery shopping trips, and I'm not sure why I'm in here. You said you wanted to talk junk to me about something.
Well, we're going to talk training camp, obviously, today, but you had brought up to me an idea on the primetime show the other day that we still needed to flesh out on the air, because I think it's smart, and I think it's something that we can do to, 1, improve the show, 2, bother me, which generally improves the show, and 3, since you seem to be all about your social media clout these days, I think it might help you as well.
Yes. Okay, so my idea for gaining social media clout and perhaps becoming the Titans insider that you could never be is stealing all of your work. Everyone loves the Dove Klemans of the world. The Dove Kleiman, who cares if I said it wrong? He's not a real person. Yeah. Everyone loves to aggregate news. So what I'm pitching is that I would just steal your tweets and your content verbatim, put them out on my account, and then let all the good people decide who they would like to give their retweets and favorites to between you and I. It's the same tweet, it's the same content, it's the same cuts. Everything is the same. They just get to pick and choose who gets the clout for the news. Now, you're doing all the hard work, which I'm very happy for, because generally you don't do any of the work at all. So I think it's a good point for me to be able to pick up the slack on the other end, where I get to laze about a little bit while you do all the hard digging and the journalistic integrity of asking the hard questions, and I get to, reap the benefits.
What are you saying? Like, you're going to just take every ladder drill video that's tweeted out from training camp and just put it out yourself as if you were the one that took it?
Correct. But with more hashtags, infinitely more hashtags. Hashtag Titans, hashtag Arden Key, hashtag this is definitely my content.
Hashtag football, hashtag NFL.
Yes. So it's unfortunate that you guys aren't out there today, but tomorrow, you got Will Levis on the show, big get. I'll be stealing all of that and putting it out on my own Twitter. And worst case scenario, I get a couple retweets, maybe a couple follows, and maybe I end up at practice, and Buck can be here pushing all the buttons.
So your plan is an interesting one. In theory, it might work. It's possible, especially with whatever they've done to Twitter now, because the algorithm's all gone to hell. So you have no idea when you're seeing things and if they're rather, in recent order, or if it's something from 6 days ago that Elon decided to just drop on all of our timelines or whatever we're calling it now. The only problem is that you can't do any of these things first. Like, you have to wait for me to do it, which would mean that you would also have to turn my Twitter notifications on. So every time I tweet about every little menial thing that's not just Titans training camp practice, you're going to get a notification on your phone. That seems like it would be annoying.
It seems terrible.
It will be terrible, but a small price to play to knock the clout down for Buck. If I could steal maybe just like 25% of the retweets that you would naturally get and your social media numbers drop, because I know you would know. You have the highest screen time of any human on the planet. It's like something like 98% of your day. I think you sleep with your eyes open, like you have a little sleeping mask, but it's just your phone turned on.
Well, it's because I fall asleep watching TikToks.
He does Twitter the long way. So all I'm saying is if I could steal just a piece of that, I would be happy. And it would be worth all of the noties coming through on my phone.
Because it would bother me.
Correct.
I mean, it would, if you got aggregated instead of me, it would bother me.
Oh, especially if it got picked up, like it was just like a fruitless tweet, like just Arden Key talking crap to somebody, and then I got picked up and got hundreds of retweets, something that you're accustomed to, and I am not. I don't know what I would do. I think I would change and act like I don't know anybody.
Well, you probably get canceled.
By who?
Whoever decided to Jim Irsay him.
Oh my! Now you've said this, and people are going to go back and be like, "What was Bert tweeting about as a senior in high school?"
It's just, these things are happening to Jim Irsay, and all he did was rattle a running back cage or two, and now people are bringing up tweets from 2010 when he's talking about who, Sarah Palin's toes or Sarah Palin's feet. What tweet did Jackson send to the chat the other day?
I think it was Sarah Palin's feet, but they've got to be nice. They're in Alaska, super cold. She doesn't have to walk out barefoot on those tooters all the time, so they're probably looking good as far as politician toes go. Politos, if you will.
It seems we've devolved. Yeah. If you will. Get your ass to the shadows right now.
Ah! Oh, hang on. First, on does this look like, you guys want to see me look like Geodude on the chat?
No,
You fell into the shadows and then grabbed onto something and pulled yourself back up real quick to say something on the way
that
out.
was such a bad, I ask one thing of you for the production of this radio show that you actually contribute in a meaningful way. The shadows is the one thing that we have, and you ruined it.
Send me again.
Shadows.
And he's gone. Just like that.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, literally. All right. Speaking of Jim Irsay, Zach Kiefer in The Athletic this morning. He's one of the better journalists that we have, I think, in any NFL market, and he did a really good deep dive on how catastrophic this Jonathan Taylor situation is. He details all the players in the last couple of months who have decided that they no longer want to be Indianapolis Colts, and how Jonathan Taylor at this point has the potential to be the most explosive of these. It's on theathletic.com, and it's basically detailing everything that they're doing around Jonathan Taylor that is counter to what this organization has done in years past, and basically attributing it to the fact that Jim Irsay seems like he's got more control or more say over things that are happening with that franchise than at any other point, or at least he's been more vocal publicly about it, right? We know that Jim Irsay has been involved with this football team. We know that he enjoys it very much, that he likes to be on camera during Hard Knocks, even when, they're having catastrophes like their season ending against the Jacksonville Jags.
But this is the perfect example, because everything that Jim Irsay has done to put the situation in the spotlight has been completely unnecessary.
Top to bottom, foolish. I'm by any stretch of the imagination. Even and not understanding that he has a following on social media, he has a platform, but Jonathan Taylor's is damn near as big for him to counter whatever it is that Jim Irsay is messaging in the media. This is a different game that athletes are playing. He got undermined as soon as he walked off of that, Jerry Jones-esque bus, apparently, that he and Jonathan Taylor met on. He came off the bus. He's talking about how they had productive conversations immediately. Ian Rappaport, within, I think, an hour of that being that conversation being had with Jim Irsay and local media, Jonathan Taylor and his representation are telling Ian Rappaport, yeah, we'd like a trade. So this thing has been just a bleep show. And in particular, there's Chris Ballard, who we talked about John Robinson and how things ultimately fell apart here in Tennessee, right? And Chris Ballard has been thought of highly, I think, by his peers across at basically his entire career there. It's not like he's done an outright bad job, but it was always confusing why he was held up as kind of somebody who was doing it exceptionally well, given that the Colts haven't had the level of success that they're accustomed to. So Chris Ballard in particular, who's caught in the middle of this mess and who seems to, his job, I guess, is safe until it's not. It lists all the different players that Chris Ballard has beaten the market on to pay their best players, because that's something that he believes in. Quote, "You pay your best players," he said when asked about extending 24-year-old at the time, Jonathan Taylor, at the end of last season. Even if it's a running back, is something that was posed to him. This was, 5 months ago, 6 months ago? And what he's saying is, quote, "You pay your best players," basically just echoing the sentiment. And then now everything that's devolved around Jonathan Taylor. So it mentions Ryan Kelly, Grover Stewart, Braden Smith, Shaq Leonard, Quentin Nelson, Naheem Hines. They all got paid a year early. They never even sniffed the market. Would we not argue that maybe other than Shaq Leonard and Quentin Nelson, that Jonathan Taylor is better or more valuable to that particular team than any of the other players that I listed?
Biggest reason for optimism this year for the Colts offense.
Bar none. Bar none. They're not an explosive offense. In the same way that we've been talking about that problem with Tennessee, like at least in Tennessee, you understand that Derek's going to break one or two. At some point, like you're going to get explosive plays in ways that most offenses don't out of their running game. And at some point, that'll stop with Derek. But right now, it's something I think you can still count on with some reasonable measure. Indianapolis, without Jonathan Taylor, there is no sense of explosiveness on that offense. They've got skill position players who I guess are kind of interesting, but you don't know. I mean, Michael Pittman is anything but consistent at this stage of his career. And so they're trying to figure all these things out, and their owner keeps actively undermining them. It's going to be a story that we continue to obviously follow throughout the course of the offseason, given that the Titans and Colts are in the AFC South together, and that this division is going to be, I think very much there for the taking. It's just who's going to matter or who's going to put together some string of competency to be able to try and get this thing under wraps. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Ramon Foster of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. He's been out there watching practice. Offensive line is something that's at the top of everybody's minds right now, and he happens to know somebody who's in competition right now for the right tackle spot. Ramon Foster next. All right, Ramon Foster hasn't done enough this morning, so we figured we'd ask him to stick around. Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 6 to 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. You know this. But he has given me a gift, and he doesn't even realize it. So you've got a new endorsement deal, or you've got something going with USS?
Well, they've been family for a while now, and Laura came and dropped us off some merch this morning for myself, a shirt. Okay, 2XL shirt, regular 2XL shirt.
Not
by the way.
3XL, though.
Not 3XL here, okay. I got to get some more clothes, too, by the way. But it's also a brick that she delivered. And I felt like you should have it in hand, Buck. For, when you do a show like how you do, and you got to talk to certain people, and you get upset, and you can't just reach out and touch them.
Like that.
You throw a brick at them, Buck. I got a feeling that's going to come in good use, man.
That didn't even get their attention. I thought it was the perfect opportunity. Neither of them, they're probably doing something on the chat right now that is going to piss me off. The way that Bert's smiling, it disturbs me.
And they're looking.
They're messing with, look at this Step Brothers ass pose that they've got going on back there.
I feel like I need to go to YouTube right now to see whatever's going on.
It's going to make me mad.
Now I'm nervous, Buck.
We thought we had the upper hand. I threw a brick at him. It didn't work.
Are they like the cats?
No,
they're a little bit worse.
They're worse because at least I know that the cats. Well, I mean, I guess they are kind of like the animals at home because you can lure them into a situation with food. That's about the only way that you can gain control of the situation.
Yeah. Even have their head. And they cut your mic. Buck, is it now the Ramon Foster Show?
That already exists. Are you about to bring it on? Subscribe, rate, review.
It does. You can check it out on YouTube.
What are you doing back there?
When you act up and you step out of line, I cut your mic.
He hates being on the board except for that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What are we doing here, Lucas? He'll probably cut my mic here soon.
No, he likes you too much.
That's my dude.
You've been out at Titans practice. By the way, the newest edition of Titans Radio, Sidelines with Ramon Foster this season. You fired up?
I am, man. I'm nervous. I'm fired up. I'm excited. I told my wife, I was like, man, I retired to get out of the NFL, and here I am right back in it, man.
Yeah. That's a whole different way. I mean, you've been watching, I guess you've been playing in those games, but when the defense is out there, you've watched from the sidelines. You understand that vantage point more than most people, the speed, the violence that takes place on a football field that you don't really understand. Even in the stands, even in the press box, like sideline is a different animal.
And that's what I am honestly looking forward to that, though, too. Just hearing it.
Yeah.
And not have to have the anxiety of being involved in it, though, too. And honestly, I was watching with Mike Keefe like Monday on the sideline, just walking next to him. I was like, we need to watch this right here. And I said something without even realizing what I was doing. I was like, we won't see it on this play because look at his stance. He's set like this. He's set like this. And it's probably a pass play. And lo and behold, it was a pass play. And then Mike kind of broke up a little bit. It was like, what? And I was just like, certain stuff you can see and tell on the field as a former player that I have to be able to utilize this stuff. And of course, following up Amy Wells, like, she's good. She's a part of Titans Radio, and as soon as that baby drops, she's right back at it. But taking advantage of this, man, and just going to have fun with it and try to hold up my end with what you guys do on weekends.
Oh, no. I'm only in there for 15 minutes. That's all they'll let me have a part of Titans Radio with Jimmy because, one, I'm scared that I'm going to make a mess of anything that they do. It's a very, very professional operation. Only the 15 minutes pregame is what I can be trusted to handle with our practice and observations leading into the game. But yeah, no, we're excited to have you. I mean, I'm not speaking for the Titans radio crew, of course, but on game days, it's going to be fun to have you around and involved. So
appreciate that.
We're looking forward to that, bud.
I'm with you. Just don't mess this up for Mike Keefe. You see the picture that me and Ron take next to him? That's
very intense.
That's how it's got to be right there. Security, make sure everything rolls well for the VOT, man, and Titans radio. I'm excited, though.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great season. So you've been out at practice. The pads are on. You're an offensive lineman. Everybody's crazed about the offensive line situation. What have your general observations been? One,
I'm glad that we are crazy about the offensive linemen like this, okay? This is and a lot of people, fans of the game, have actually, enlightened themselves more to what it means to have a good OL. If you got a quarterback that's middle of the road, then you know what you say? The O-line is gonna make sure that he's all right. If you have a young quarterback like Houston or like Jacksonville, you say, if I got a veteran offensive line, then I'm able to progress and have a good season because we can rely on the running game because those big dudes up front make a lot of things possible for you. Watching this OL the last few days, without pads and with pads on too, I was kind of like Vrabel. I didn't know what Andre Dillard was going to be with the way Arden Key was rushing against him.
Bud.
Oh, my gosh.
Menace.
He was a menace.
Menace.
But as of late, man, watching them operate, I feel better about what they are and what they can be. Right tackle is a position I got to watch a little bit more, just considering what that's going to be. And I'll say this, too, removing my biases, too, because I played with Chris Hubbard, making sure I see him as a number and not a person I know and help raise up in this league. Is he good or is he not good is the way I got to look at that. Jamarco Jones, it was a bad thing for him yesterday to get kicked out of practice. He needs all the reps that he can get to. But all in all, I'm impressed by Peter Skoronski. Watching what Aaron Brewer is capable of doing in the middle, not being singled out as a guard, I think is a plus for him. I know we spoke about watching Bronsko get forklift by Jeff. We've yet to see those types of things again. And not just that, the depth of having guys like Jalen Duncan also that can come into this fold and figure something out. Roos is a guy that I've been having my eyes on too. Jordan Roos is a guy I've had my eye on too, just to see the five that you got. And I think Hubbard's probably a sixth dude at this point too. But the depth has to be of quality. It has to be of quality. And those guys have held their own. You're not seeing quarterbacks under pressure a whole lot, Buck, the last couple of days in pads. They have got squeezed out, but the quarterback's eyes are downfield. The run game has been as fair as you can get. I left yesterday practice saying I don't know who won. And if that's the case in training camp, the offense potentially won that day on the ground and through the air.
So Hubbard is an interesting one because, like you said, likely a sixth guy. He's been that player throughout the course of his career, and you'd know that better than most. But if Jamarco Jones can't keep a handle on his temper, Ramon, like Hubbard got the first team reps yesterday because Jamarco appears to be a bit of a dope. Like the only thing I know about that dude, other than he continues to tear his biceps at untimely times, is that he likes to smack dudes after the play. And at a certain point on this team that had an uncharacteristic amount of penalties from Mike Vrabel coach team in 2022, Lucas listed all the different kinds of penalties that they had and the penalty yardage that was lost. Their margin for error is always consistently so thin. And if you have a liability out there on your offensive line like that that's going to get called for something after the play, that is something that we're seeing in real time right now when it doesn't count for something, but it does count ultimately for establishing that discipline that needs to carry over. I don't know if you could trust that guy right now.
And you know what? That's very interesting because, one, he took reps away from himself yesterday by getting sent to the sand pit.
Yes.
And one thing that coaches hate is non-productive sessions or games. I remember a young guy I played with, Marquise Pouncey. He was fighting a guy after a play one time. And I've never seen Coach Tomlin this ticked off, pissed at a player before because of something he did that could be macho manish, right? Oh, man, I just punched a guy in the face. Okay, whatever. He pulled him to the side and said, you know how dumb that is because all your teammates are counting on you to be in the game. You break your hand, we lose you. We lose a part of our core that you are a part of this team. Coaches hate for those types of things to happen because it's non-football stuff. Nobody cares about how tough you are just because you push somebody and punch somebody. And I know you lose it sometimes, but what's happening right now is Jamarco has a guy behind him who's still vying to play and start in this league in Chris Hubbard. It's not like he's a throwaway guy. He's a veteran guy. So him capitalizing on those moments that he can be running with the ones and getting good quality reps against Harold and against Rashad Weaver, they're lost. They're like null and void at that point right there. So I do look at that right tackle position a lot more than I look at almost any other position when it comes down to the ones right now. I thought what I saw out of Dillard was true. That first couple of days that were not in pads, I said to myself, he's not using his hands or he's late with his hands. Well, it showed and proved that he was working on his footwork. And offensive linemen have to take those steps because until you put the pads on, nothing else really matters. I don't care how much you lift in the weight room, how fast you are, how quick you are. Until you put those pads on as an offensive lineman, none of that matters. And Dillard has shown me this. And Arden may have gotten him a play or two, right? Or Rashad has. And that's the game, though. But he's been more steady than I thought he was going to be in pads. He's fighting. Not punching, but like straining to win. What I've seen out of that group is the pocket be an umbrella around the quarterback, and they're still getting pushed back, but they're grudgingly getting pushed back, Buck. And that's what you want. As long as that quarterback got about 3 feet around him so that his arm doesn't get touched, you win. Pressure on a quarterback ain't a loss. Did he deliver the pass or not? And there's been more times than not that this group has been able to keep him clean and have a clean operation of the offense because that defense is good. You got to say to yourself, each quarterback is getting their looks, and that's because of the protection of the OL so far.
Vrabel said it yesterday. Ramon Foster's hanging out here in studio with us. Ramon, Kalen, Will, 6 to 10 a.m. here on 104.5 The Zone, the Ramon Foster Show. You can check out on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button. Vrabel said it yesterday. He felt like they've had some of the better pockets that they've had. So far, it's early in camp, but with the pads on, and he said, in the early going, it was like excrement through a tin horn, or however you want to say it.
I heard y'all breaking it down yesterday with Kirby, man.
A lot of detail.
Yeah.
Unnecessary detail. We got distracted. That tends to happen. Squirrel. It's especially when we're out on the practice field. Tough to keep our attention. Anyway, you mentioned Skoronski. I don't think, at least right now, 2 days with pads on. We'll see, when the next time, Thursday and Friday is the next time they're going to be out on the practice field. We'll see how many more padded practices they have leading up to preseason games and things like that. And obviously preseason will be a good test for offensive linemen as well. But there's nothing there right now that seems urgent enough for them to have to move Peter to one tackle spot or the other potentially, right?
None.
There's nothing there because he seems so solid in that left guard spot. The thing I think I trust most about that offensive line group is the dude that just got here. I kind of feel that way. He's never in the wrong spot. He takes, I see him take the coaching. I see the kind of footwork and hand placement drills, hand fighting techniques that he's working on with Hoteling and Sullivan in the two offensive line coaches in the individual periods. Like, he seems to just be so solid where he's at that I don't know if it's worth disrupting, since that's already a new position that he's had to learn.
When you hear coaches talk about recruiting or how you knew a player was going to be good or great and all those, the coach speak that they give you, like, he walked off the bus and I knew he was going to be good.
Yeah.
I did have a moment like that with Skoronski. And it was one play on the first day of pass against one particular player. It was him versus Jeff. This is no knock against Jeff. This is just good on good is what I saw. Skoronski took his set at left guard. And Jeff is who Jeff is, right? So you expect him to go hard. Heck, we saw him forklift a man, okay? But Skoronski is
easy.
Yeah. He was comfortable enough to set Jeff at the line of scrimmage. One, smart enough to know if I don't stop 98 gonna plow through me. And you speak about the arms. I see him, that was one of the knocks in the pre-draft. He set Jeff, 1-2 set him at the line of scrimmage, so much so that Jeff stopped his charge to get to the quarterback on a passing play and just jumped up and batted the ball. Now, beautiful. Jeff made a good play, but so did Skoronski, and Skoronski's not backing down from a fight with Jeffrey Simmons, okay? One of the top 5 D tackles in his league. And he stopped him to where Jeff had to jump up and bat the ball. I said, that's a dub. That guy's going to be fine, meaning Peter Skoronski, because to be confident enough to block him by yourself at the line of scrimmage and Jeff have to resort to batting the ball down, that's a win. What has to happen now, and I'm sure it happens in the meeting room, I'm sure the coaches tell him, hey, Coach Hoteling, right? O-line coach, hey, swat his hands down. You get a man stonewalled at the line of scrimmage, do whatever you can to swat the ball or swat his hands down so they don't bat the ball. I thought it was a very solid play by him. That one particular play that could have almost turned into an interception because the DBs were around when Jeff batted it in the air. But I'm thinking to myself, nobody does that to Jeff like that. This dude's a rookie. I know he's a high first-round draft pick, but that made me say he's going to be all right and he can play guard, even though he even has said to himself, I don't know if I'm going to play left guard. No, fella, it's okay. You're on the left side, still blind side of the passing side too. Left guard to me, I think I'm biased. All right, is essentially the same as left tackle. It is the quarterback's blind side also. So I thought it was very unique. They put him there, but he's also holding his own. That one play let me know he's gonna be all right though.
there's a lot of tape like that so far in the early going, and you're right. Like the defense, especially with Jeff or whether it's Jayon or David Long behind him, like they've gotten interceptions off plays like that all the time. Like you can. I'm sure Titans fans can picture those things in your head. But you talk about going against this defense. Something that they like to do. They got an interception off Malik a couple of days ago, doing it with Weaver. Those. Whatever you want to call them, I think a lot of people in the league refer to it as zone exchange or simulated pressures, right? Those where you're bringing 4 still, but you might drop, in this instance, Harold Landry and bring, if McCreary's the slot corner, or bring Azeez Al-Sher as the inside linebacker as the 4th rusher. Like, you're doing these things to make the quarterback think for just an extra fraction of a second so that he might miss a read or make a mistake or throw a ball where he thinks a defender shouldn't be. How difficult are those things to manage as an offensive line? Because the first day with the pads on, you saw the Titans not doing a lot of the stuff defensively that they are going to implement in a game. And then yesterday, it felt like they were throwing a hell of a lot more at them to try and say, okay, you thought you got one on us the other day. Here we go. Let's show you what this is really going to look like. And it did intensify things throughout the course of the practice. As an offensive lineman, what are kind of the steps that you take to make sure that you can protect yourself against those things?
That's where that cohesion comes into place. That gelling together is what people say, right? Oh, they got to gel together. I saw a set yesterday. I was like, man, they're running a straight up nose tackle. Didn't realize, no, that's 3 overload side right there. And they did exactly what you said, Buck. They bring pressure from one side, drop a guy, and send another guy. What you did see, and you got to give the defense credit, man, was leakage from the linebacker position. Most times when it comes down to you saying, how do we prevent ourselves from being exposed when the defense is doing something like that too, is communication. Brewer in the middle, who we've heard is a very smart player. Hey, here, 1, 2, 3, down, right here. Point to the linebacker. And the biggest thing you have to be able to do too is relay information to the quarterback and the running back. I thought the pressure and leakage we saw yesterday was more of the younger running backs in those situations where it looks like, hey, a guy shot in the A-gap in the gun, not under center, in the gun. Oh, the guard missed that one. No, that was probably the running back. Yeah. I saw more of that yesterday than anything. If a guy shooting in the A-gap and Tannehill's under center, that goes to the guard more than it does the running back because it's quick hitting right there. In the gun, the running back has to step up and take that guy. So it's Brewer up front being as vocal as Tannehill. Hey, we got 2, I think is Aziz's number. We got 2. You got him, and you slide that way. Like, it's communicating. That's what we're talking about. That's what I was speaking of when a guy like Jamarco's out if he's supposed to be the projected starter. Yeah. You missed all of those reps, Buck, that really can hurt a guy.
On an important day.
On a big day like that. And because I don't know if they're in pass today. You know what I'm saying? So you missed the physicality of kicking out and feeling that pressure of getting to your spot. That's why you can't have fights. And I'm glad Vrabel's at that point. Fight, go to the sand pit. No questions asked.
Yeah, you're not going inside, bud.
No.
You're going to the sand pit.
I know, crazy. I watched him, Buck. I was tired. I was tired for him, man.
It looks unpleasant. It looks very, very unpleasant. What? If we're not going to get it through to you by sending you off the practice field, you're going to run until I say stop.
With cleats on. He'll never get rid of that sand. Never.
Ramon Foster. 6 to 10, Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Thank you for taking Bert off our hands. It's been a blessed relief.
You know what I heard? The Bert is the word, man. A little bit too much.
Yeah. 4 hours, especially that early in the morning. It's
and
something.
Get Cheyenne back home. He's losing it right now, Buck.
When I tell you that the things that this man has been doing when left alone by himself are some of the most concerning behavioral patterns from a human being I've ever seen in my life.
You let that man be him.
See, that's
you
the
need
problem.
to stop ruining Bert's shine. I'm sick of it, frankly.
That's the problem.
Well, he misses his buddy. No, the brick, I have to, this is the problem. I only have 1 brick. I have to go reload.
The string on it.
Listen, I have to deal with him twice a day at the very end of my day. You'll forgive me if I'm a little jaded.
That's cool. I'll take that.
Thanks for hanging, bud.
No problem, Buck.
SEC observations, they're next. Welcome back here on the show. Happy Wednesday. We're happy to have you here. 615-737-1045 is the number. You're going to need that at 11 o'clock because for the dumbest thing in sports this week, we have got another pair of 3-day passes for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Now, I know you've already gotten your credentials because you're responsible and you did this like last week, yes?
No, I got them this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got them same way you just got them.
Oh, I thought you went down to First Avenue or wherever you had mentioned to me that we were going to have to pick these things up.
I did, but it wasn't open because I didn't look at the times.
Oh.
Because I'm an idiot.
So slightly more responsible than me, not all the way more responsible than me. Either way, just got our credentials. We're fired up as hell to be going down there. It's going to be an awesome weekend. We haven't talked about this. You mentioned Saturday. I'm going to be there Saturday and Sunday for sure. Are you doing Friday yet? Do you know?
No, I'll be on the call. Nashville Soccer Club Leagues Cup round of 32 at FC Cincinnati. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff here in the zone. So, no, I will be getting off the air for that probably about 9:30-ish.
There you go.
Probably going to go Saturday and Sunday.
Big sports weekend for you. Goodness.
Love race weekend.
So, we will have those for you at 11 o'clock. You just have to tell us what the dumbest thing in sports this week is. If you make us laugh, if you shock us, whatever the case may be, we will award the pair of 3-day passes to the Turn 9 Club for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix to the person who gives us the dumbest thing in sports this week. Meanwhile, some SEC. Oh.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Nick Saban and Josh Heupel in the SEC. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Brian Kelly and Greg Sankey in the SEC. Let's talk about sex.
Exactly 1 week after the Titans hit the practice field for the first time in training camp 2023, Tennessee and other SEC programs are doing the exact same for fall camp 2023 as the season kicks off in a month. We are officially in the month of college football, August 26th, week 0, Vanderbilt, Hawaii, and then Labor Day weekend, of course, Tennessee hosting UVA right down the road here at Nissan Stadium. So Josh Heupel, offensive coordinator Joey Halsley, defensive coordinator Tim Banks met with Tennessee media yesterday to talk about the 2023 football season. And understandably, a lot of the attention on Joe Milton, on this group of wide receivers, on the possibility to replicate what this team did in 2022, to match or surpass that level of success that felt very ahead of schedule. And it was interesting. Tennessee at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago was not afraid. We talked about this with Josh Pate. Like, I personally love it when you hear coaches and players just laying out goals, right? Like Brian Kelly, of course we need to win a national championship. Why else am I here if not to win a national championship? Tennessee was at Media Days with the stated goal of win the SEC East. We're here to go to Atlanta and then see what happens from there. And I think that's reasonable. I think if Tennessee was walking around Media Days saying, no, we're going to be in the playoff, we're going to win the national championship, you're okay, sure, that's great, lofty goals, but I don't know if you're quite there yet as a program. But win the SEC East. That is a tough mountain to climb with the regular season slate that Georgia has, but reasonable. And with the attention on Joe Milton, obviously Tennessee fans are fascinated to see what Milton does with a full season sample size. So here's offensive coordinator Joey Halsley talking about Joe Milton and what he's improved since initially stepping on campus in 2021.
Yeah, his accuracy has grown so much. His touch has grown so much because he's dialed into fundamentally changing a little bit. You know, he had the classic thing. He has a naturally powerful arm. So a lot of times you can just get away with things. He has taken a huge growth in using his lower body, not trying to rip the ball with his upper body every time, and his accuracy has just jumped through the roof right there. Now, with that big, powerful arm, like, he can put the ball out on the perimeters really quick. So, like, he gives you some ways to stretch the field, not just vertically with the arm, but laterally as well. So that guy can do anything you ask him to, and now he's doing it at a higher, consistent level. And that's why you're going to see the jump from that year one to now.
That's about as good a breakdown as I've heard from any Tennessee coach on what Joe Milton specifically has been working on to improve that accuracy.
Yeah, because I can visualize exactly the kind of mechanical improvement that Halsey is alleging that he seems to, or at least has made progress towards, right? He might not have outright corrected his footwork or his ball placement, his accuracy, the kind of things that help him mechanically be more accurate with the ball so he's not just ripping it all the time, the way that Anthony Richardson talked about. When he needs to improve his accuracy, what is he doing? He's just gunning it, is what he said at the Combine. So that is a notable development for Joe Milton.
I was trying to get something similar to that out of Joe himself at Media Days. I got to catch up with him. We played the interview last week when we were out at training camp. But when I asked him, if you could just give me what's one specific thing that you feel like you've really honed in on since the start of your career at Tennessee to now that you feel like you've made the most strides in. And, he gave me the working on everything, but he did talk about the chemistry and timing with guys that he has had the luxury of already establishing. Like, it's his show now, not for the first time, but there's nobody kind of creeping up on him. I know Nico is there. Nobody thinks of Nico Iamaleava, even though Joey Halsey told us yesterday that he's ready to help right now. Nobody's looking at this season as a situation where Nico nipping on Joe's heels. It's his show. So he has had the luxury that most, I don't want to say first-year starting quarterbacks, because that's not what he is, but he's established that with Squirrel White and in some cases Brew McCoy, but mostly with Ramel Keaton, all the reps that he got with the twos. He's been playing with those guys. I mean, threw almost 1,000 yards last season as the backup quarterback and starting just 2 games. A lot of that was to Squirrel White and Ramel Keaton, and especially in the Orange Bowl to Brew McCoy. So he's already ahead a little bit in that regard. And the hype for Joe Milton going in this year is really interesting to me because it's very different from the hype going into 2021. And there was hype, right, about Joe Milton coming into 21 when we knew he was the starter. Big guy, the rocket arm, just couldn't quite rein it in at Michigan, lost the starting job. But, I mean, the way people were talking about Joe at practice and in the building, it was like, hey, watch out. This guy is coming for the SEC in 2021.
He was their starting quarterback for a reason. Like all the things that excited people about the possibility of him within an offense that was supposed to be high-powered, electric, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were doing those things very, very much in the preseason.
And we're getting that now, but it feels a little more grounded, if that makes any sense, because Milton coming in has gone through that experience of starting and then being benched, and then coming back as the backup quarterback and everything that happened last year and in the Orange Bowl, and now coming back in as the starter with so much more tape and tangible evidence of improvement under his belt that we didn't have in 2021, where that was just hype. That was just a big guy, former Michigan quarterback coming in, going to be fun to see what he can do in the Heupel system, having no clue what that was going to look like in year 1 of Joe Milton. Now we have a much better idea, and not only that, but he's had that luxury of being on the same page and playing with the guys that he's going to be playing with in 2023. So the hype is there just like it was in 2021, but it feels more substantive, if that makes sense.
Well, because he was a unicorn coming in here, right? And you had no idea what that was going to look like. And then when you found out, you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot that does get you excited. And, oh, my God, he can throw it really, really far. But also, it's really, really far ahead of the wide receiver that he's trying to hit in stride. That's not an ideal situation. If he has improved his accuracy to and whatever extent you want to take from the offensive coordinator's quotes there, that does make me more positive or more optimistic about how efficient he can be in the offense. The efficiency is the key there. Game manager is something that's used as a slur almost for quarterbacks. I want Joe Milton to be a better game manager.
Yeah.
More than anything this season, I want to see Joe Milton manage a game. And I think he can be what Jordan Rodgers is out here on SEC Network and Sirius XM and stuff like that saying, like, the most athletically gifted quarterback in college football this year. And that's fine. That can be true. But also, it doesn't have to be completely and totally reliant upon those things. He can play well within structure and that be the best and most needed improvement or development from Joe Milton that the Vols can have this year. All right, good stuff. That's exciting. Football season, bud.
1 month, man. Yeah. 1 month until that kickoff Labor Day weekend.
I got a DM from some Titans fans who were having tailgates around Nissan Stadium for that, with Tennessee and Virginia opening up the Vols schedule here in Nashville. All right, it's time for the dumbest thing in sports this week. 615-737-1045. Call in. Give us the dumbest thing in sports. It will give you the opportunity to win a pair of 3-day all-inclusive Turn 9 Club passes to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. We'll do that coming up next.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. It's a walkthrough day for the Titans at training camp. Tuesday marked the second padded practice of 2023, and there was some rotation with quarterbacks working with the twos, including rookie Will Levis, who was put into some unscripted situations in team drills. Head coach Mike Vrabel, meeting with the media, commented on the work that the former second-round pick got in.
I've seen him, be able to process and just kind of transition to the next play and get into the, listening to Tim and what Tim has going on. So I think that has been pretty good. So we just need to continue that and make sure that you're not too high and not too low. So I would agree that he was able to kind of transition and get the call and get guys, in and out of the huddle. And that's certainly a great start.
Be back at it at Titans training camp tomorrow at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Fall camp starting up in Knoxville today. Tennessee hit the practice field 1 month away from kickoff, year 3 of the Josh Heupel era here in Nashville against Virginia on Labor Day weekend. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 2, call it second down if you want to. We're happy to have you here on 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're not going to wait around. We're going to get right to it. It's time to do the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
What the is this?
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real.
It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Rising Show.
For a chance to win a pair of 3-day all-inclusive Turn 9 Club passes for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, 615-737-1045 is the number. So, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week? A lot of submissions for Jim Irsay and everything that's happening with the Indianapolis Colts. But I'm going to, try, Lucas, to take a rare dip into the baseball waters because the trade deadline came and went without any discussion from us about it.
Yeah, and it was a big one. Some blockbuster moves yesterday.
Well, there were some notable moves, but none more so than the New York Mets. Were you aware how much that they spent this offseason to bring in Scherzer, and they had Verlander and all the staff that they put together, the team that they put together prior to this season beginning?
You thought championship window.
Their owner clearly thought the same because they spent all kinds of money. They were nearly $100 million into the luxury tax. And they were sellers yesterday at the deadline. Their season is all but done, it would seem. And the New York Mets have taken a completely different organizational direction from the one that they set out for not 6 months ago. It's a pretty bad deal in New York. And the Yankees have injuries and have been kind of sputtering as of late. Again, our baseball knowledge is not such that I'm going to get into the ins and outs of it because we don't pay that close of attention. But I do know how reckless it is. Kind of the Sean Payton thing. Sean Payton was talking about spending money on super teams and all these different things and how they can implode. I mean, I don't know if you would have called the Mets a super team heading into this baseball season, but it certainly felt like they were investing heavily to try and ring chase as much as humanly possible. And I don't know that it could have taken a more disastrous turn than the one that it ultimately has ahead of the deadline or at the deadline yesterday.
Yeah. Some of the comments that have come out from, how am I blanking on the pitcher that was just traded?
Scherzer.
From Scherzer.
Yeah.
About what was laid out for him on suddenly it's a 2025, 2026 plan for the New York Mets, not so much a 2023 plan. Yes, I imagine Mets fans are livid, are furious about what's happening right now.
Well, we all know that New York sports fans handle those things very diplomatically.
Yes. The most diplomatically, some would say. My dumbest thing in sports this week, one of the smartest, you would say, universities in North America, Northwestern University, specifically athletic director Derek Gregg and university president Michael Schill, who have continued to dig a deeper and deeper hole in mishandling everything about the hazing allegations swirling around the Northwestern football program that have gotten head coach Pat Fitzgerald fired. By the way, the latest on that from yesterday, a former Northwestern player suing the school alleging racial mistreatment as a part of this whole thing. It just gets worse and worse and worse. How many weeks ago was it at this point that this came to light and Pat Fitzgerald first got that 2-week suspension and then he got fired?
I mean, it might have been a week before training camp, right? Because we were talking about, that's one of the first things that Skoronski's going to be asked.
I mean, it's been almost a month. And Skoronski was asked, and unsurprisingly, just not really willing to get into all of that. Yeah. But, it's been almost a month. And not once have we seen athletic director Derek Gregg or university president Michael Schill speak at a podium about this situation. We've seen statement after statement after statement. You know who has spoken at a podium? Interim head coach David Braun, who has nothing to do with this situation, who was hired early in the calendar year out of the FCS to be a defensive coordinator for Northwestern under Pat Fitzgerald, comes into this mere months ago and now is thrown into this position as a head coach for the first time in his career, but definitely in circumstances I'm sure he would not have wanted. And Braun spoke at Big Ten Media Days. None of the Northwestern players that were going to go to meet Big Ten Media Days went. Not shocking, and I don't hate that. Don't make the players answer for the misdeeds of, we're talking about years, like an entire era of Northwestern football. That's fine. David Braun had to answer some of those questions. He did it about as you would expect, not commenting on a lot of it, just talking about how this team is going to push through it, what he's excited about for 2023. But not once have we seen the leadership at Northwestern University speak at a podium. We found out that University President Michael Schill did not, in fact, read the findings from the Northwestern Daily, the student newspaper, that have done an incredible job reporting on this, that when he decided to suspend Pat Fitzgerald for 2 weeks, he had just read a, quote, summary of the findings from the Daily Northwestern, did not bother to read the whole thing. I guess he was on vacation. I know he was on vacation at some point during that whole saga.
I mean.
And then somebody freshens him up on it. He reads it, and he fires Pat Fitzgerald, who now may sue the school because Pat Fitzgerald's like, what is this? You gave me a 2-week suspension, and now after nothing happens after that, then you're just going to fire me, not give me my buyout? So this is a colossal mess.
Well, there's some kind of employment law in the state of Illinois that may give Pat Fitzgerald grounds to recoup some of the money that he's lost.
It's a colossal mess. It's an absolute disaster for I'll say a prestigious academic institution in the United States, for its leadership to have handled it in the way that they have. It is shocking to me that we have yet to see either one of those guys in front of a podium answering questions about this. It's embarrassing. Northwestern, easily the dumbest thing in sports this week and this month.
That's a pretty good one. 615-737-1045 if you would like to take a crack at it for a chance to win a pair of 3-day passes for the Turn 9 Club at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix this weekend. Let's start the bidding with Jeremy in Lebanon. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, guys. I think my dumbest thing in sports, it has to go to this, the newly drafted Chicago Bear, formerly UT Vol, Darnell Wright, with doing the regimen for the receivers instead of doing his the running program for the offensive linemen, but kind of turned out better in his favor, better conditioning. But how do you get those two mixed up?
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. We talked, that was my oh no yesterday, Jeremy. But yes, Darnell Wright taking the conditioning test for the Bears wide receivers instead of the Bears offensive linemen. That's a pretty face palm moment, right? That's just a kind of dope.
But also very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that he did it, yes. He's the most in shape offensive lineman ever at 330 some odd pounds.
I wonder how much weight he lost, honestly.
Say that again. I have a headphone.
I wonder how much weight he lost in that process. Like, truly, I want to know. We talked about this yesterday. We don't have to rehash, but how the Bears staff feels about this, right? Like, I really, really want to hear from head coach Matt Eberflus on this. Like, are you happy about this, or are you upset that one of your starting offensive linemen in a top 10 pick did not read the directions and maybe weighs less now than you would like him to because of that?
Coach, I noticed that Darnell showed up looking a bit more like a tight end than he did an offensive tackle. Your thoughts? Yeah, well, that's how it goes. All right, 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's try Scooby in Brentwood next. Hey, Scoob.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Buck. Hey, I got a good one for you, and it's a local one. It was Saturday at camp when this woman decides to yell at Jeffrey Simmons after practice when he's spending time with his family. That you need to come spend time with us. You see your family every day.
No.
And you need to come over here right now and spend time with us. We've been waiting here all day for you. Come here now. That's my dumbest thing.
No. Scoob. Oh, that's a good one.
Did that happen?
I mean, I can only take his word for it.
That's crazy.
Okay, I mean, there was a bunch of fans at practice on Saturday. Did anybody else witness? I'm willing to believe Scooby.
That's crazy.
I'm going to take him at his word. That's wild. Wild to me. One, shame on you, ma'am. Like, what? I was shocked that some dude slapped Rashad Weaver on the butt while he was leaving our broadcast setup yesterday.
I'm not shocked by that.
Just that somebody would feel that comfortable slapping a professional athlete on the butt that you don't know and he doesn't know you. Sir, you are 65 years old out here at Titans camp in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. Leave the professional athletes alone.
Good rush, Rashad. You know that man has wanted to do that his whole life.
I'm so confused. Listen, it's not indicative of all of you, but some of you guys, man, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. That is horrendous. I don't know that we're going to have a better nominee than that.
That's the leader right now.
That's for sure the leader in the clubhouse. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you have a dumbest thing in sports this week that you think can contend with that, Scooby right now is the leader. Or if you can corroborate his story, if you also saw this woman yelling at Jeffrey Simmons that he needs to spend more time with fans than with his family, I would love to hear from you. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Dumbest thing in sports this week. It's what we're doing right now. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Get back to the phones here in just a second. We have had corroborating reports of the couple that was yelling at Jeffrey Simmons at Titans camp on Saturday that he needed to spend more time with them while he was spending time with his family because he sees his family all the time.
That is just shocking behavior.
I mean, is it though? Like, you accuse me regularly, and you're right, of being like, of not understanding at all, like, what a lot of fans' experience is around the sports that they love, and you're completely fair to do so. But I see some stuff from the press box that always is just like, or like, while I'm down on the field pregame, that is some of the most confusing behavior I've ever seen from human beings. Just like, I can't possibly comprehend the logic behind why it is that you are in a stadium that seats 70,000, sitting by yourself exactly an hour and a half before kickoff, screaming at no one that the Bills are going to just wreck the Titans that day. Just completely disoriented, looking to be somewhat sober, but probably not. Just like these kind of things. Or like, you know, the person who just feels like it's okay to slap Rashad Weaver on the butt as he's leaving a radio interview on his way from a practice that you had no part in.
I mean, I love that sports makes fans do ridiculous, insane things.
Insane things.
And it does something to your brain that really nothing else does.
Doesn't seem to be. I mean, really, there does not seem to be many other things that incite that kind of craziness.
Yeah. But all of that stuff is acceptable if it's kind of happening over here, right? Like happening in the stands, in your home, watching the games, be as weird and crazy as you want. I get it. I've been there. Like, I don't really suffer from anxiety, but when Tennessee football is playing, I belong in a like psychiatric ward. You know what I mean? But when it comes to being in the same setting as those people, and it starts to kind of overlap with interpersonal things like you spend enough time with your family, come spend time with us. Yes, a line must be drawn.
I love it, but also, what the hell?
Crazy.
615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Micah in Murfreesboro next.
Yeah, my dumbest thing is the Atlanta Braves virtually doing nothing at the trade deadline and acquiring Brad Hand. But I know I can't top the previous callers.
That's a good one, yeah. Yeah, I know. Did you? I don't know if you caught Will Bowling on the way in or out of the studio today, but he seemed to share the same sentiment. I know a lot of Braves fans were confused by the lack, or not. There not being more action around the deadline, given that they feel like they could legitimately compete down the stretch at this
Standing pat.
Yeah. How about Eric in Lebanon next? Hey, Eric.
Hey guys, I gotta say. The dumbest thing in sports is Shaq and Dr. Dre, man. They're top 10 NBA players on their list, man. Why is Dr. Dre leaving out Kobe?
I'm unfamiliar with the list of Dr. Dre for the top 10 basketball players. Is that what First Take does during training camp instead of talking about positional battles? They're doing top 10 lists with Dr. Dre? I saw that Roman Reigns was doing his top Super Bowl contenders the other day on First Take. So perhaps we need to pay closer attention. Brandon in Murfreesboro next. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on, Bud?
What you got?
So I just read about this story earlier this week that there was a Ohio State basketball player that got popped for a drug test. And when it came back, he was positive for being pregnant.
What?
So they went back and rechecked, and he failed a urine test and used his girlfriend's urine test.
Oh, my God.
To pass the drug test.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait. Did he know that his girlfriend was pregnant?
He did not know his girlfriend was pregnant.
No!
Oh, that's good.
No!
I have to find this. I have to.
That can't be real.
From the Daily Star.
Get the bleep out of here.
July 26. Basketball stars failed drug test once.
Did you see how many people hung up there?
Oh, no, they phoned it in. Everybody else hung up.
They're like, I can't beat that one.
Basketball stars failed drug test once bizarrely revealed he was pregnant.
What?
DJ Cooper, this is from the Daily Star, once found himself in one of the strangest controversies an athlete has surely been involved in. The Chicago native was described as one of the best point guards in the country from the likes of Jay Billis. He went undrafted in 2013, went on to play in Europe, but he was handed a 2-year ban from FIBA for failing a drug test, which shockingly revealed the player was, in fact, pregnant. Unbelievable.
Surprise, you're having a baby. Not you. Your girlfriend whose pee you used to pass your drug test. I'm sure something like that has happened at some point throughout the course of human history and drug testing, but damn, that's funny. I can't remember a story ever like that. Scoot, we had some good ones today. Y'all brought it.
That's one of the best days. So it wasn't he did not play for Ohio State. He played for Ohio, for the Ohio Bobcats.
Okay.
And then went on to, so this happened recently during his European professional career.
I mean, do we even take calls after those two?
Oh, man, that's tough. This may be the toughest we've ever had to decide between a woman telling Big Jeff to stop spending time with his family so she can come be with fans, or a professional basketball player submitting his girlfriend's urine for a drug test and then finding out she's pregnant.
I don't know. I mean, should we put it on a poll? I don't even know how to pick between those two. That's tough. All right, we'll make a determination on who wins the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix Turn 9.
We'll put it to a poll.
Are we actually going to put it to a poll?
Yeah.
At Buck Rising is where you vote on the polls. All right, the fate of these two individuals and their ability to attend the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is now in your hands. At Buck Rising is where you can vote. Do you choose the crazed Titans fans screaming at Jeff, or the basketball player who used his pregnant girlfriend's urine to pass a drug test, found out he was pregnant because his girlfriend was and he didn't know? That's wild to me. All right, let's veer back into a little Titan stuff, given that they have a walkthrough practice today. They're at the facility today, but we're not out there, so for all intents and purposes, we're treating it like a day off at this point. And we talked to the coordinators at some length, both Tim Kelly, Shane Bowen, and Craig Aukerman, offense, defense, special teams. I want you to hear from Tim Kelly first about something that caught my attention regarding the offense and all the different changes that we've talked about, theoretical changes to the offense that we've talked about him coming in to make. He was asked specifically about, do you still continue to operate with the train of thought that building an offense around Derrick Henry makes the most sense? This was the Titans OC.
Yeah, it'd be foolish of me to not play to our strengths, you know what I mean? And obviously having Derrick here, we got to make sure that we're putting him in the best spot to be able to continue to have the high level of success that he's had throughout his career. So, that's something that we're working on as a staff, and that's something that we're not going to forget is understanding who we are and kind of what the backbone is of our identity.
With that being said, do you think we're still in the days where 30 carry weeks for him are going to happen?
I mean, if it means that's what we need to do to win the game, like that's going to be the biggest thing for us on offense, is making sure that we're doing whatever it takes to be able to go and win that game based upon the game plan, based upon the vision of Coach Vrabel, and making sure that we're doing whatever we have to do to win.
All right. So, based upon the vision of Coach Vrabel, that's the thing that caught me, right? On any given week, based upon the vision of Coach Vrabel, we're going to do whatever we need to win the football game. Now, that can be Derrick-centric still. That's been the thing that they've leaned on in the last couple of years. We know that Mike very much believes in what it is that Derrick Henry brings to this offense, and understandably so, right? We've seen the best version of the Titans with Derrick Henry as their primary focus or their primary focal point. But I do think that's going to, get in the head of some Titans fans who are saying, well, I thought the whole point was to put more of an emphasis on the passing game. What do you mean you're still going to give Derrick the ball 30 times? We were talking about this on the sidelines amongst ourselves. I think it was Saturday. The idea that, Tajay Spears, who we continue to come back to and who apparently I called Tajay Sharp yesterday with Rashad Weaver. That should be a fine. That's going to happen to a lot of people, I feel like. But Tajay Spears, the rookie running back, you have to figure out whether you can move on from Derrick Henry at the end of the year or not comfortably based on what you have behind him as a more affordable option. If Spears is going to be something that's in consideration, he has to play. You have to find out what this dude can do within the scope of your offense. And I just don't necessarily know a world exists where Derrick Henry is not going to receive volume carries as a part of an NFL offense that he's in.
What I wonder is how often we see them on the field together.
They've done stuff with Hilliard and Henry. It never really materialized with Deion Lewis the way that you thought it might. They've done more stuff with Derrick and the tight end in the backfield than they have another running back. If you notice some of the formations that they'll trot out there from time to time. But by I don't have by percentage that personnel grouping, how often they were out there with two running backs specifically, as opposed to, Derrick and a fullback. But I just have to think you have to find a way to make Derrick less of a giveaway. I don't know if that exists, right? Easier said than done. If it was so simple, I'm sure they would have done it by now. But it just seems like every time he's out there, you know what's going to happen. It's either going to be, you understand that Derrick Henry's going to get the ball. But, if he's going to contribute in the passing game, you know what his passing options are. You know what his receiving options are. And you know more often than not that he's been the thing that they're going to go to, even on early downs when it makes the least amount of sense. So I don't know how you can prevent Derrick Henry from being a dead giveaway when he's on the field, other than to put him out on the field with different personnel groupings and not give him the ball.
It may be as simple as what they have tried to do in the past with Darrington Evans and Dontrell Hilliard. It just being more successful. Also in part because of what they have on the outside, not just because of the player they have complementing Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and they have to be able to trust their wide receivers more, right? The idea that, just put 3 wide receivers out on the field and run the football because things are more spread out. Well, you have to, your receivers have to be a threat to spread the defense out that way. It's not as simple as putting them in 3 wide receiver sets and saying, oh, there's more space, go run. You've seen offenses do that with success, but those offenses also have competent passing games. That's why some of the best offenses in football, Chiefs, Bengals, they also have some of the most efficient rushing attacks because opponents fear their passing game first and foremost. Allows them to have more success. It frees up things at the line of scrimmage. It just makes life a lot easier, less congested. Tim Kelly is as important as any person on this roster or on this team this year, I would say. I don't know that there's a more impactful figure. We talked about Charles London, the quarterback's coach and passing game coordinator. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill has a huge role in what this offense is going to be able to achieve this year, but I think in terms of impact and how this team is received by you guys, how satisfied you are with the changes that were made to try and make this football team better, the offensive coordinator has as big a role and as big a responsibility in the direction of that as any individual involved. And also, Vrabel has to, be comfortable enough with Tim to not defer to the things that we've seen them defer to in years past. The head coach is always going to be a part of the offensive play call. There's not a play, offense, defense, or special teams, that goes in on a headset that Vrabel isn't aware of. That's the case for most coaches. Now, how involved do you think he needs to be in the direction or the tendencies that they use? That's the question that is up for some debate. And that's the thing that they're going to have to work through at this point. Then there's Craig Aukerman. So you guys have had a lot of questions about the kicking competition, and we haven't given you a ton of detail. Paid a little more attention to kickers than I have, I think, at any point in camp yesterday between Trey Wolf and Caleb Shudak. And our first opportunity to speak to special teams coach Craig Aukerman yesterday, this is what he had to say about the kicker competition.
Yeah, it's been really good. Obviously, in the off season, they did a really good job competing against one another. We gave them a few things each to work on, during that 5 weeks off, and we think they've kind of picked up and actually even gotten any better since they've gotten here. So we'll let this competition roll out as long as it needs to, but we're excited about both of them.
So, there's not been much to distinguish one from the other than their size. Lucas, I think you were commenting on them yesterday, watching them because they were on the field closest to us.
It gives Deion Lewis, Derrick Henry vibes, but kicker version.
Wolf is Shudak is small, but I think Shudak is closer to the average human being size. Trey Wolf is just a giant out there. Especially because he wears number 40. I don't know if that I don't know. It looks weird. It makes him look taller.
I say it's probably because he's 6'4".
That helps.
More so than the number. Jim Wyatt logged what both kickers did. I mean, he's been doing that every day, as he always does. Trey Wolf, 7 of 8 in practice yesterday, makes from 42, 34, 38, 33, 52, 33, and 54. His only miss was from 46. So he's 26 of 28 so far in camp. Shudak did not kick in team periods yesterday. He's 18 of 20 so far in camp. It's pretty neck and neck right now, it feels like.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything, like we asked Ackerman yesterday if there's any kind of a timeline. Do you have like a full stop moment where, okay, at some point you have to consider a veteran option? Right now they feel pretty comfortable with what they've got in the place kickers. And, I know a lot of you might not necessarily trust their assessment with field goal kicking situations, given how many of them they've run through in the last couple of years. So we'll wait to see what results the preseason brings. But beyond that, there's nothing that's been outright concerning about the kickers. I mean, you'll see, I think Shudak had a miss from 38 the other day. It was kind of like, you got to have that. You got to have that. If the only pressure on you in that situation is they've got a little bit of ambient noise going on in the background at practice and we're out there watching you, you got to be able to make those kicks.
It'll go on through the preseason.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
I don't think there's anything, but I guess my larger point is there's nothing that's forcing their hand as far as other options.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right. The only differentiator so far to me is Kirby.
As in?
Our Kirby.
Kirby Allen Kirby?
Yeah. That's the only thing that's separating Trey Wolf right now from Caleb Shudak. Kirby's words that the ball sounds different coming off of Wolf's foot, the way that a Tiger Woods drive sounds different when he's teeing off versus other golfers.
He compares
That's it right now.
That undrafted rookie free agent kicker to Tiger Woods. I love that man. He's also insane. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll get to more of your phone calls. Touch on some conference realignment stuff in college football. Big news in the last couple of weeks that obviously with Titans training camp going on hasn't been top of mind for us, but definitely worth noting for the future of the sport. We'll get into that coming up next. Are we playing jump around? I don't know if Wisconsin has any role to play in college football realignment, but perhaps the Big Ten does. I don't know what's going to be left of the Pac-12 when whomever the other major conferences are done picking over their carcass at this point. But, I mean, the idea that the Pac-12 doesn't have a television deal on the table right now.
George Kliavkov could have been submitted, I think, as the dumbest thing in sports this week. The Pac-12 commissioner.
For trying to take this Apple TV deal?
No, for just the way that this has been handled. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he's at a podium at Pac-12 Media Days preaching patience. The longer we wait, right, the better the deal will be. And that cost them Colorado. I mean, that cost them the asset that people are most talking about in 2023 in Colorado with Deion Sanders off to the Big 12. The rare instance where realignment kind of makes things right again, where I grew up with Colorado in the Big 12. That makes sense to me. And now they're back.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, whatever gets Maryland and Rutgers out of the Big Ten, I will not be. It's not UCLA and USC.
That's not happening. Buddy.
They don't even bother me as much as Rutgers and Maryland.
Maryland and Rutgers are planting their feet there and saying, no. We're going to keep taking that cash.
Hell yeah, they are. I don't blame them.
And geographically, that makes a hell of a lot more sense than USC, UCLA.
Either way. So conference realignment is ongoing. Now, the Pac-12 apparently is considering, because they don't have a television deal on offer from a network right now, they're considering joining the MLS on Apple TV. Now, there are certain incentives should they reach certain subscriber metrics by addition of their broadcast rights onto Apple TV that would benefit, basically like DeAndre Hopkins' contract structure, right? They've got an incentive-laden contract to make the sting of that feel a little less. And at some point, this is how streamers are going to get football rights, where, the Pac-12 is on its last gasp. It has no other option. Okay, we'll come in and scoop up this product that we need at some point anyway, that's going to allow us to break down the door eventually of Netflix, Apple, Amazon, Thursday Night Football, all these different things as streamers now compete for live sports rights too. This is how it starts. And ultimately, it may be the best thing for what's left of the Pac-12. Because I don't know, without Colorado, without Deion Sanders, without USC and UCLA, it sounds like, based on if you listen to people like Josh Pate, who are very, very informed in the world of college football, it doesn't sound like Oregon is long for that conference. Utah, Washington are going to be left looking around like, the hell? What are we supposed to do here?
And the Oregons and Washingtons of the Pac, now the Pac-9, are not even what has them teetering right now. It's the Arizona schools right now.
Yeah.
Everything is circulating around the Arizona schools. The Arizona Board of Regents met for a while yesterday to talk about the path moving forward. The Board of Regents, by the way, oversees Arizona and Arizona State. So the moment one or both of those heads to the Big 12, and it would be a package deal, Pac-12's done. It's over. I mean, it's on the brink of collapse right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is out of their control or how much of it is for dragging their feet, maybe hubris of turning down certain deals that could have put them on more solid ground and now have them in this position. And it's interesting that the Apple TV deal, reportedly, Pete Thamel's been doing a lot on this too, is tiered, right? Like you said, incentivized based on the number of subscriptions. That's not the deal MLS got.
No.
MLS got 10 years, $1.5 billion.
You know who did get a deal like that, though? That is being, the details of that are not there, but it is my understanding and the understanding of people that I read in front office sports, people who cover the business of sports, right? That Messi and the deal with Inter Miami as a part of joining MLS, and by nature of Messi joining MLS, he's not joining MLS, he's partnering with Apple, that Messi has now a stake in this that incentivizes, he's a more valuable asset than is MLS.
He gets a share of subscriptions the number of subscriptions that go up proportionate to Messi coming to the league, he gets a share of.
So while you're correct that was not a part of MLS's deal, MLS does have some of that by extension because Lionel Messi is now in MLS. So I think that this makes a lot of sense for streamers, certainly. It's a more cost-effective strategy than what networks have been doing, which is just handing out gobs of cash over the course of years because these things are harder to track. Man. Here's the thing, though, because I think a lot of times, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody, talking about things from a sports business or media business perspective that fans don't actually care as much about. Now, there may be some of you who are legitimately interested and invested in the storyline of what looks to be the collapse of a Power 5 conference in front of us. It's a big story. I think it's a huge story. I think it's a story worth talking about. But I do wonder at the end of the day, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, how many college football fans actually care as long as if I'm gambling, I know where I have to go to get the Pac-12 now.
Yeah, as long as you can still get your Pac-12 after dark.
Right.
But at some point, too, you're talking about the number of subscriptions and platforms that you have to have. It just keeps going up.
Oh, yeah, but that was always the way this thing was going to go.
Know. I definitely did not anticipate, like MLS doing the all-in deal with Apple. You figured, that's not going to be the only time that happens. Somebody's going to follow suit. I didn't think it'd be the Pac-12. I didn't think it would be a college football or a collegiate conference. So that is interesting.
Well, but that's, is that not the future of sports? Now, that's a larger conversation. Again, the level of it, and you guys may be interested in this. I genuinely don't have any idea. But the idea that, sports is becoming... consuming things is becoming more fractured than it ever has, right? And there's not people who are as passionate. I think younger generations of sports fans are not nearly as passionate about their favorite teams as their parents or, even their older brothers and sisters to a certain extent. You're seeing that fractured nature play itself out in a more itemized consumer option where, okay, maybe I'm not into the Big Ten, but I like the Pac-12, so I'll sign up for that subscription.
Jim on the F&M Bank chat says, why would anyone stream Pac-12 and pay the subscription?
It will be regional. Pac-12 has one foot in the grave, but that's my point. Most of these things I think are going to end up being regional, almost like baseball, like regional TV deals, regional streaming deals.
Which is ironic because college football is also losing that regionality that defined it for so many generations.
Sure, but this is the thing that could get it back. It could,
Yeah, for the Pac-12.
For the Pac-12, right? Things, the Big Ten, the SEC, Notre Dame, those are going to be things that are considered. The ACC has legacy programs where you're talking about Miami and Clemson, programs that have won national championships maybe it is just the Pac-12. I don't know.
And by the way, when you see, I saw something this week about people tagging us in, ACC school's on the move. I saw some Barstool guy reporting that he's hearing that Clemson, I don't know what AC. If you see anything that says report ACC school jumping ship, either ignore it or take a closer look at it because the ACC's grant of rights deal is locked in for another decade plus, and that's been widely reported on that. There are schools that have explored trying to get out of that. It's a pretty hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So take that with a massive grain of salt.
Well, and the thing that we were tagged in it didn't even say report. It said rumors.
Right. Rumors. Yeah. Get out of here. By the way, in all of this with realignment, obviously the Big Ten and the SEC, the big fish in all this, that doesn't need to be said. But for me, the winner, as far as the guy who's kind of risen above the ashes, so to speak, Brett Yormark, man, of the Big 12. Assassin. Texas and Oklahoma, I don't need to sit here and talk to people about how much of an impact and how those are the crown jewels of that conference. They leave, and then Yormark goes on the offensive and brings in UCF and Houston and BYU, and then guts the Pac-12 to bring in Colorado after trying to form an alliance with them months before. Said, okay, we're going to go get Dion.
Now wait, the alliance thing. We sat back and we pointed I'm not talking
about the alliance you're thinking of. I'm talking about reports about the Pac-12 and Big 12 mulling over a TV deal that could have kind of combined the two. But
what was that thing called?
And I don't even know.
A gentleman's agreement.
Yes, a handshake agreement between gentlemen.
It's like the Big Ten.
I believe it was.
It's something so
hilarious.
Stupid.
But I don't know how much of an asset Colorado is for the Big 12. Deion is, but when Deion's gone in 3 to 4 years, if that, how much of an asset is Colorado? A program that's been a nothing program.
Buddy, that's what Dan Lanning said at the podium the other day. I'm sure you saw that. Dan Lanning literally said, what if they won? What if they won?
I know. It's Deion. It's all Deion. So that was interesting, but I respect it. Did you see the statement from Brett Yormark after Colorado came in?
They're back.
They're back. Just 2 words. Assassin. Love what Brett Yormark is doing to keep the Big 12 afloat. Pac-12, Pac-9 could take some lessons from it.
Smaller every day. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll pivot back to some Titans camp discussion. Will Levis got his first opportunity with the second team yesterday. The question that we're going to ask you is this: big deal, little deal, no deal? Will Levis getting his first opportunity of training camp to be the backup quarterback? I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 12:03. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. It's walkthrough day for the Titans at training camp. The team will be back on the practice field tomorrow at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. We will be out there broadcasting live. Fall camp starting up in Knoxville today. Tennessee hit the practice field this morning as we are 1 month away from kicking off year 3 of the Josh Heupel era right here in Nashville against Virginia on Labor Day weekend. Around the NFL, Rams star wide receiver Cooper Kupp left practice early on Tuesday undergoing an MRI on his hamstring. The team saying Kupp could be back in a few weeks. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour on this Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for jumping in. If you're just now joining us, 615-737-1045 is how you do so if you want to get on the phones. Just got my first email of the season about needs for credentials. That means the preseason is right around the corner. Of course, you can hear all the preseason coverage. Chicago, Minnesota, New England after that before the regular season starts in New Orleans right here on 104.5 The Zone. Fired up to get the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff back up and rolling. We had Ramon Foster in here. I know he's excited to do sidelines for Titans Radio this year. Kayla is going to do the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff with Blaine, Mickey, and myself this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Meanwhile, we got things from training camp practice to talk about. We've got quarterbacks to talk about. Was a good day for Will Levis. Started slow, started 0 for 3, but ultimately ended up finding his rhythm, running with the twos. His first opportunity in training camp to get a piece of the second team, and seemed like he found his footing relatively quickly. Felt like that was kind of a reward for having a good day at practice on Monday. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue it was his best day of practice Monday, so you saw him out there. We asked Mike Vrabel about Will Levis working with the second-team offense yesterday. This was the head coach at the podium.
I thought there were some good balls. I thought there were some good decisions down in the red zone. I thought he delivered the ball with some accuracy, tried to push it down the field, and work the concepts that we had going in today just in the red zone. So take it day by day. There's going to be some good days. There's going to be some bad days, and learn from them and keep progressing.
So, simple as big deal, little deal, or no deal. We'll take a page from the PTI book. Will Levis working with the twos for the first time. Now, I personally think it's a little bit of a deal.
Wait. What? Okay, so is it a little deal, or are you saying that because you think it's a big deal?
No, I think it's a little bit of a deal. It's a little deal.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Did that need clarification?
It came off weird. Like, I think it's kind of a deal. It's a little bit of a big deal. Yeah.
No, I didn't say big. I didn't say a little bit of a big deal. I said a little bit of a deal.
It was the implication.
Okay. My tone is bad, is what you're saying.
But little deal. Not
It's
a huge
little deal. It's a little deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he has officially surpassed Malik Willis.
No, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it with Corey Curtis. We wrapped up practice yesterday, and we said, yeah, little deal. That's fine. And that he did well with his opportunity. That can only be a good thing for him. Now, that doesn't mean that Malik Willis had a bad day. Doesn't mean that Malik Willis has had 2 bad days of practice just because Levis got snaps with the twos yesterday. In fact, I think Malik's been fine. He's been better than Levis consistently, and that's what you're asking for. And it's going to complicate this quarterback situation even further to the point where they have to make difficult decisions. Now, beyond that, I think that Levis still has the kind of consistency issues that we've talked about with him even as a college player. What did Dawn say to us on, I guess that would have been Monday at practice? Perpetually, Will Levis's career has been, one really unbelievable, ungodly, professional football type of throw, followed by 2 or 3 like, oof, what is that? Now, that's more the 2022 story of Levis, and that's not necessarily the most, analytical way to describe him, I suppose. But like Will Levis is somebody who has to iron some things out. It is beneficial that he is getting the opportunity to do so with the second team. Beyond that, it's still Malik Willis's job to lose.
To me, it just means Levis is moving in the right direction and not the wrong direction.
Yes. That's what training camp is for, to determine, are you moving in the right direction or are you moving in the wrong direction? Should your stock continue to go down, well, Will Levis is in a different position than most. He's going to have a little more leeway than, say, Colton Dow. You want to talk about Colton Dow? That's somebody who I think is in danger of missing this roster, even though we're early. Something that caught my attention, I think Mickey Ryan and I were talking about this on the sidelines. It was either Mickey and, Rhett Bryan, not Mickey Ryan. Rhett Bryan and I were talking about this with Tehran on the sidelines yesterday at practice. Apparently Chris Moore has been working in special teams as the gunner, as a 30-year-old wide receiver who you thought might be a bigger contributor to the offense. He'll still have a role with the offense, provided that he makes the team. But somebody like Colton Dow, the idea that 30-year-old Chris Moore is out there playing gunner on special teams, that's not good for Colton Dow. It's not good for any of those depth wide receivers who are trying to crack the roster. The importance of special teams for those dudes is at a premium. And, yeah, there'll be more opportunities for that stuff to work itself out, but, like, that player is in a different position than Will Levis is. If Will Levis does not make improvements, as he has incrementally made improvements, I don't think he's in danger of not being on the roster this year. We talked about the different situations that we might see the Titans quarterback room working itself out in, and in no way, shape, or form are any of those options, Tannehill and Malik being the only two quarterbacks on this team, on the 53. That's the thing that we know. But again, as Levis continues to make those incremental improvements or, takes a step back on a particular day or has a couple of bad days, whatever the case may be, obviously we'll talk about it. But yeah, this is exactly the kind of incremental improvement you want to see. Chuck in Clarksville is up next. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, I think Will Levis, to me, looks like a young Josh Allen. His first couple of years, you look at Josh Allen, you go, oh, my God, look what he just did. And then next 2 or 3 plays, you go, oh, my God, did he just do that? And I think Will Levis is kind of the same way. I mean, and even today, Josh Allen's a lot like that. He'll make 10 good plays, and then he'll make 2 bonehead plays. So, I mean, he reminds me a lot of Josh Allen. I think they look at it the same way, that he can be that type of player. So I don't see him regressing behind Willis much longer. And then they will, whatever they want to do with Willis, they want to keep him on as the third quarterback, or I actually think they're trying to make him look good so that Arizona might bite on a 6 or 7 round pick. So that's my take.
Thank you for the call, Chuck. Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. Speaking of quarterbacks that people are trying to showcase, did you look at that Trey Lance clip I sent you?
No.
You should.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You remember how vehemently you were arguing that oh my God.
Yeah, there's a quarterback battle happening in San Fran.
Purdy, yes, but that Trey Lance is third amongst the 3 quarterbacks that are competing for that job. Go look at that throw I sent you from Trey Lance. Yeah, it's one throw in one practice. It is clear why they tried to move him this offseason or tried to get people to bite on him this offseason. It does not seem like he is in a place where he is progressing.
Okay, it's a bad throw, but you are doing the thing that you claim to hate. Don't do that.
What?
Nitpick one Barstool clip of one throw that goes over someone's head and talk about he's not progressing.
It's really bad.
It is the thing that you most yell at people for.
It's really
like
bad.
That is one of the top 3 things that you come on here and you moan and cry about when fans take away blanket opinions from one social media clip floating around from training camp, and you're doing that right now as we speak.
No, I'm just using it to prove a point.
Which is the thing that you. All right. I don't have to keep repeating myself. Like, just know that you are being a major hypocrite right now.
Yeah, but this one I'm right on. That's okay. I'll be a hypocrite if I'm right. No, it is one clip. You're correct. Don't make any grand assessments off of it. But
it's also from OTAs in May, apparently.
Oh, well, then that would be less helpful.
what I'm saying. Like you're doing the thing that you claim to hate.
No. I was reading on The Athletic about Trey Lance not living up to expectation, being the third quarterback in this competition.
Well, then use
Brock
that.
Purdy,
You use that to cite what you're saying.
The
not
throw
the
was way
Barstool
better.
clip.
The throw was way better. It was so bad. Anyway, Jonathan is up next. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, so the dumbest thing I have in sports this week that I've heard is that a Tennessee Vols fan sold his season tickets. Instead of putting $500 and making $3,000, he put $5 and made $30.
Wait, what? How is that possible?
Yeah. Because he mispunched. He didn't punch in all the zeros. So someone got some lower bowl seats for $30.
That can't be so. Thank you for the call, Jonathan. That's hideous. Can people even get lower bowl seats for season tickets for Tennessee right now?
Yeah, I don't know. They've sold, what's the number? 70,000, something in that neighborhood of
it's
season
up
tickets.
There. It's been a really, for obvious reasons, they've got, damn, that would be a nightmare scenario. Anyway, let's get into the idea of the starting quarterback. We spent so much time talking about the backup quarterbacks. The quarterback tiers list is something that I didn't feel we spent enough time on because we were out at camp yesterday. And I do think it's going to bring about an interesting conversation about, is there anything that Ryan Tannehill can do to earn another contract here? 615-737-1045. We'll talk about it coming up next. Welcome back to the show. What does Ryan Tannehill have to do to earn another deal in Tennessee? Is there anything beyond winning the Super Bowl? Maybe that's the answer. Does making a Super Bowl even guarantee that Ryan Tannehill might be asked back beyond the current length of his contract that expires at the end of the season? 615-737-1045 is the number. I bring this up because, one, we were talking about it on the sidelines at practice the other day. And sitting at the press conference yesterday during Traylon Burks' press conference. Lucas, did you guys carry the part of it where he was asked about the quarterback tiers?
Burks?
Yes.
No.
So at the end of the press conference, Traylon Burks was asked about the annual quarterback tiers that come out on The Athletic, courtesy of Mike Sando. Ryan Tannehill is the 22nd ranked quarterback and a Tier 3 quarterback, the bottom of Tier 3, by this assessment. Just for your, frame of reference, these are done every year by Sando. They are complete with commentary from 50 NFL coaches and executives who were granted anonymity to share their unvarnished evaluations. That's directly from Sando's article on The Athletic. So just to refresh your memory about Ryan Tannehill, and again, these are people in the league. These are coaches and executives. Flanking Ryan Tannehill right now, Justin Fields at 21, Mac Jones at 23. First of all, disrespectful as all hell. Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tua, Russ, Goff, Carr, Kyler Murray are all ranked above him in Tier 3. That is as offensive as anything that I've seen regarding Ryan Tannehill to date.
It's almost like fantasy football rankings.
And to an extent, I'm willing to go along with that because mobile quarterbacks do bring an inherent value that pocket passers do not. But Ryan Tannehill is among the mobile. Even at 35, dude moves better than Derek Carr or Jimmy G. I'm perplexed by this. I sat next to Dawn during Traylon Burks' press conference yesterday. And Dawn in the middle, Dawn cracks me up because she's giving running commentary while the press conference is going on and just looks at me while that question is being asked about the quarterback tiers and says, are we just dumb about the Tannehill thing? Is it just because we're here every day that people don't understand that he's better than these dudes? And I had to, in very hushed tones be like, yes, Dawn, yeah, we can talk about this later. It's not right now. Traylon Burks is answering questions. But it's wild to me that this is the way that people in the league would also assess him. It's just not accurate. And at some point, I don't know who can we have Sando on the show at some point? Can I just ask Mike if I'm being a blatant homer? I don't know how I can process this in ways that are not just me beating the same tired drum over and over again. Lucas, how tired are you of me talking about Ryan Tannehill?
I mean, he's a starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. What do you mean?
No, I know, but just in these terms, right?
Of like defending Ryan Tannehill?
Defending Ryan. I am tired of hearing myself. And, it's not just because I can wear on people. I'm wearing on myself, it seems. But, it's just such a nonsensical argument. But I feel like I'm screaming into nowhere, into nothing, for him to come out again as the 22nd ranked quarterback on The Athletic. And for it not even to be 22, it's that Justin Fields is ahead of him for reasons that are inexplicable to me. Geno Smith, who's done it for one season. He's been 10 years in the league of not having done bleep. I don't think that I'm a homer about the Tennessee Titans or about that quarterback in particular. I don't think that I'm blind because I'm here. I understand that I'm not in 31 other NFL teams' training camps and that I don't know those teams the way that I do know this one or this quarterback. But damned if this is not the most frustrating thing or frustrating argument that I just can't seem to find a breakthrough with. And it's not even on a local level. Like, I feel like most people understand where I'm coming from, who are, within the sound of my voice, whether that's streaming, FM radio, whatever the case may be, podcast after the fact. But like, you guys have to be tired of having the same conversation, defending this same conversation. And I don't know how else to get it across to people. And the fact that I'm apparently not just like fans or people who call into the radio show who still cite the Bengals. For God's sakes, you click on the blurb about Ryan Tannehill, and the Bengals game from 2 years ago is being cited.
But if you're going to do this, then you probably need to hold back on yelling at Titans fans for complaining about lack of national coverage. Because your response to that is always, get over it, right? And now you just cannot get over this thing with Ryan Tannehill.
I can't though.
Just pick one.
Okay, so is it get over it? Your team is not going to be, and I don't want to say covered well because there are people who cover this team well who aren't here. Like I know that. I'm friends with a lot of them. So it's not that there is a complete absence of national coverage whatsoever, but like when you hear your team talked about, what's on ESPN today? It's the top 10 starting quarterback battles in the NFL. You know who's on that list? Tennessee. I don't know. It's revolving around the same thing. It's the only way that they get discussed outside of here is by nature of that quarterback's job being in danger. And I mean, so what do you want me to do here, Lucas? You want me to either stop bitching about Titans fans bitching about coverage, or stop bitching about other people bitching about the quarterback? What would you like? Which path would you like me to take?
I mean, we know why Ryan Tannehill is outside the top 20 in these lists. We know why. The majority of the league is not watching every snap that Ryan Tannehill takes with the Titans and talking about Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. Like, we understand that. And what we do every time Titans fans come on here saying national media don't care about us is saying, yeah, all right, you get it, get over it. It's a tired. How many times have we called that complaint a tired discussion?
It is.
About complaining about lack of national media coverage. Well, that's what this is. This is lack of attention paid to the sample size of Ryan Tannehill's stint with the Titans.
But this isn't media. That's my thing. Like, this is why it's different. It's football people. These are coaches. Would you rather play him or against him? An executive said. To be honest, he's probably someone I'd rather play against. Those 3 interceptions in the Bengals game could have been the beginning of the end for him. That sounds like a caller.
It does. No, that really does. That surprised me. That really surprised me.
That's my thing, bud. Like,
going back to one game literally 2 years ago as your jumping off point.
It almost makes me forgive the things that people complain about with the coverage of their team, because if people are going on television and talking about the Titans within the context of people that they've talked to in the league, that makes this make a hell of a lot more sense. But the fact that it's coming from smart people who, again, they're anonymous. I don't know if they're smart football people or not, but like, it's just, that's wild. Wild to me. I understand this man is not an elite quarterback. There's probably 2 or 3 in the entire sport that are elite. He's better than Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Jimmy G. It's disgusting. 615-737-1045. Jason is in Murfreesboro up next. Hey, Jason.
Hey, guys. We got an NFL update, man. Let's start that noise up. I was going to say, Jalen Hurd, man, he retired from the NFL for the Patriots. So I feel really bad for the Patriots again. They missed out on D-Hop. Now they pick up Jalen Hurd, and he retired in training camp. He got injured again. So I think his time in NFL is over with.
Okay, I don't care about that. I'm talking about Tannehill. Let's go to Trace in Nashville next. Hey, Trace.
Hey, what's up, Luke? Man, what Lucas just said about nobody watching us. That's what I was going to say. I got a couple of, group of friends. We all talk sports and whatnot. A couple of other friends live out of state One of them is a diehard homer, anything Tennessee. The other one, he was a 49ers fan before the Titans got here. He remained a 49ers fan. I myself was a Steelers fan before the Titans got here. Now my home team is first. But anyway, when hearing my friend who's a 49ers fan who says, who's a homer also talk about the Titans, which is out of town, all his subject points, all the things he touches are the same thing. It's Cincinnati this. It's like this national type of perspective. It's nothing nuanced. He's not listening to any radio, and so forth. So I just got to write it off as they're clearly not watching the games. Now, at the same time, though, we always assume the people that's in the sport, his peers, Tannehill's peers or GMs or whatnot, they actually know what's going on, and they know when they're game planning for this guy. They're not game planning thinking that he's just, he's a rub-off or whatnot. They're game planning him like he's a very efficient quarterback that's taking his team to playoffs twice. So I don't. That makes me question the validity of these people who so-called, are the people that he interviewed for just giving these Tannehill points. So that's all I had to say. Mr. What you got?
Thanks for the call. Agent S. in the F&M Bank chat says, cut him off. He's raising my anxiety. There's a lot of background noise on that call, but I did get the gist.
Gotta say, I feel bad for what we just did to Jason there, the prior caller.
What do you mean? Why?
And how dismissive we were of his call.
Why? Because do you feel bad because you feel bad, or do you feel bad because people caught your eye roll on camera?
No, it's because we kind of threw Jason under the bus there, and that wasn't Jason's fault.
It was my fault because I took the call?
It said Jalen Hurd on the call screener.
Oh, I didn't look.
You took a call that wanted to talk about Jalen Hurd, and then you got mad at him for wanting to talk about Jalen Hurd.
I didn't get mad. I just said I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Ryan Tannehill. You rolled your eyes. You're not.
I rolled my eyes at his little news update. Play the music. His half-hearted attempt to play the.
Both of us. The way that you and I looked at each other when oh God, the sad pity, just chuckle.
But we can't take a call that in the screener says he wants to talk about Jalen Hurd and then be like, well, what are you doing? We don't care about Jalen Hurd. We have the option not to take the call.
You're right.
You chose to take the call.
You did say it did. You had written Jalen Hurd under there. I didn't pay attention to it. I just saw Jason and I hit the button.
Sorry, Jason. We love you.
You're overcompensating because you feel bad.
It is crazy how short-lived that man's career was.
What, Jalen Hurd? I don't know. Hadn't he been in the league for a minute? Oh my God, are we really about to talk about Jalen Hurd after we just this is how you're going to correct things? You're going to talk about Jalen Hurd right now? You almost got me.
In all seriousness, I was actually going to bring this up today.
Oh.
I wonder if this is any sort of cautionary tale for young players seeing what's happening in the running back market and then deciding at whatever point in their career, no, I'm not a running back. I'm a wide receiver. The way Jalen Hurd did when he was about to break Tennessee's all-time rushing yards record, and then his career fizzled out with the snap of a finger.
How close in proximity was Jalen Hurd to Lev Bell? Because that, I think, just in terms of when they were in college versus when the Le'Veon Bell stuff started to happen.
Oh, Hurd's exit from Tennessee was 2016. I think Bell was more 2018.
Oh, was it? I would have.
Was it earlier than that?
I thought it was earlier. But I'm just saying, because what you're arguing is, how much does that have to do with him wanting a position change late in his career? And I don't feel like there was a movement quite like that. Even around Le'Veon Bell, that felt more like player empowerment than it did specific to the running backs, right? Because LeBron, I think, had just done, I think that was right around the time that he had gone back to Cleveland and kind of left the Heat in shambles afterwards. And we were talking about player empowerment in the NBA, and was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Then football players tried to apply those same sensibilities, and Le'Veon Bell, a running back, was the first example, and he got slaughtered. He ended up making decent money from the Jets, but he took less money. And now, several years after the fact, is putting out public apologies to Steelers fans on social media.
2018 was his exit from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. So later than I thought. Yeah, I can't speak to that. I cannot believe you got me to talk about Jalen Hurd after how dismissive we just were of that Jalen Hurd call.
Yeah, but that wasn't Jason's fault.
It's not. We're sorry.
He didn't deserve that.
615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls. We'll update the polls, get you over to Blaine and Mickey coming up next. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. We'll get to them in a second. You remember how harsh I was about quarterback on Netflix?
Yep.
I'm willing to walk that back a little bit.
Oh, you have flip-flopped.
I like.
Did you watch it?
I watched. So I haven't watched. It's 8 total episodes. I haven't watched all 8. I started it. The way that they're doing it, I like it better than Hard Knocks. Like what I'm saying now, I'm more interested in these individuals than I would be on some, practice squad potentially end of roster type outside linebacker for the Houston Texans that you're following his journey through. Like, I'm going to care more about the parties involved. I still don't love the way that, like, it's very, and I'm just reading some stuff around, like, the making of it. It's very clear and obvious that, like, there were certain things that Kirk Cousins didn't want in there versus the thing that's being projected to me as Kirk Cousins, who seems to be received better than any of the three of them so far from the series. So, like, I keep that in the back of my mind, but it is not as uninteresting to me as I thought it might be.
It was less interesting to me than I thought. We have...
oh, really?
Yes, we have passed each other like ships in the night.
Okay, flip-flopper.
I watched the first 3 episodes, and it was fine, but that's all it was. And there's nothing that makes me want to come back, and nothing is pulling me back to finish it out. It's background noise.
Oh, now that, yes. I
didn't hate it.
Well, see, that's my thing. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I didn't intend to hate it. I had no active intention to hate it. But, like, if you're selling me another version of Hard Knocks, basically, which is kind of how this was positioned, it's just more access to individual players. And these players are more famous than, some of the guys that have been featured roles on Hard Knocks before, right? The Hard Knocks formula is tired. Like, even with the Jets. Like, if I want to follow the Jets, I'll turn on SportsCenter. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to get more tea, for lack of a better term, off the actual coverage of the Jets than I'm going to get off Hard Knocks.
What do you mean?
Like, in terms of how the Jets are covered, what's actually happening with the Jets versus how the Jets are going to be presented to me on Hard Knocks. I'm going to get more of a reality TV version if I'm reading the New York Post than following along on Hard Knocks.
I guess. People watch Hard Knocks for the inside look, for meeting rooms, for conversations on the practice field. Like, you can't get that stuff just watching national coverage. But I get what you're saying. But for me, it's all about the documentary coming out, Swamp Kings,
yes.
Is it? That's what I'm so locked in on.
I hope they do that well.
Yeah.
I
think they will. The Manti Te'o, it's part of all that same series, right? Untold. Same series that put out the Manti Te'o which was really well done, I thought. I cannot wait. And then the Johnny Manziel one coming out too. That's what I'm more excited for.
Tyler Dow says season 1 was kind of boring, but I'm excited for season 2 with Joe Burrow. See, that's the thing. Like, Joe Burrow's not that interesting. Patrick Mahomes, not that interesting. Marcus Mariota, not that interesting. Like,
Tannehill said he entertained it.
Well, he said his wife was real keen on it. He said he wasn't outright opposed to it, but he was asked for season 1 as opposed to season 2. I know Joe Burrow is one of the 3 that's being mentioned, but, like, yeah, it's just kind of like, well, these guys were boring, but the next ones will be better, I'm sure. And then the next ones are boring because they're great at sports doesn't make them inherently interesting people. JR in Nashville is next. Hey, JR.
Hey, bud. I don't know how to start this other than say I hope you're strapped in your seat.
Okay.
Number one, your backup for Lucas, not going to make it. Lucas will stand up to you and tell you when you're wrong as well as telling you a good job. Your backup, not so much. He's kind of afraid of you, I think.
You're saying Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have to get Jackson to be a little more brave in confronting me because you're right. I need those checks.
Yes, sir. My complaint that I gave while Lucas was out getting snockered was, number one, I really do not like your use of bleeping when you use that word to replace the one that you can't say on the FCC. I totally get it, but one statement you made last week sometime, you said that mother bleeping, and you made it so quick that it was offensive to me, even using that word. And so I'd just like you to think about that the next time you use it. Come up with another word and just drop the bleeping altogether. And so that's number one. Number two is, I think you're a journalism major from IU and or communication. You don't use have and got together because they're both the same thing, and you'll say, hey, let's go see what we have got. Well, hey, let's go see what we have, period. And the other one, don't use a preposition at the end of the sentence. So I just ask you I like your rawness sometimes, but you just need to channel it a little bit. Enjoy the conversations, and I love Lucas coming back on you. He is the man. And it might be the Lucas Panzica show one day, buddy.
It might. Just might. Thank you, JR.
Great points. I have no disagreements with anything JR said.
I feel like I just got sat down by a parent. He's right.
He's right.
He's right. Now, I don't know what else to do with, when I can't cuss and I say bleep, it's second nature at this point. I'm scared if I try to find another word, I'll use the words.
I'm with him on the bleeping, but it doesn't offend me, but calling someone a mother bleeper, it just doesn't, come off the same. It doesn't
come. Yeah, because I can't say the
right,
thing.
Right, but I don't know if it's worth it. It just sounds dumb. I don't know. Just using the word bleep instead of a cuss word just sounds silly. I don't know any other way to put it. It just sounds silly. Will you tell someone to bleep off? Yeah. It just doesn't come across. I don't know.
I think
we need a different word.
It's years at this point. All of these are fair, constructive. He told me to strap in. I thought that was well done by him. I need to think about more often how often I'm ending sentences with a preposition. I need to keep an eye on that. He's correct. All right. Oh, my God. All kinds of phone calls. Let's do some polls.
I don't know who you are, but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Rising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
We just figured it out. I used to listen to Dan Levitard every day on ESPN radio. They said bleep because they can't cuss. Now they have a podcast, they cuss. Now I figured out why I do it. Okay.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. Who will be the Titans' kicker this season? Trey Wolf, Caleb Shudak, or a free agent? That is to be determined. 46% are going with Wolf, the UDFA out of Texas Tech. 42% say Shudak, the second-year UDFA out of, was it Iowa that Shudak played college ball?
Yes.
And only 12% say a free agent.
I will say Wolf for no other reason than Kirby Allen Kirby told me he's the Tiger Woods of kickers.
What is the most interesting quarterback battle in the NFL? I don't even want to read that one. It was Ken saying Joe Burrow versus calf injury. But all that to say that there are not really many intriguing starting quarterback battles in the NFL, and I feel like the era of starting quarterback battles in the National Football League is kind of behind us. When's the last time you saw a major high-profile training camp battle to win a starting job in the NFL?
Oh, probably the 49ers. I mean, that would be the only one, right, with Lance and Garoppolo, but I guess high-profile.
And that's more so because,
Urban Meyer tried to lie to us with Trevor Lawrence. And,
right, and we all knew that was BS.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't pick Trevor Lawrence with the number one pick to get into a battle with Gardner Minshew. I feel like offenses are so tailored around a specific player, right? Like Anthony Richardson gets drafted. You're going to start Anthony Richardson. You're going to live or die with him. You're not going to put him, ironically, with Gardner Minshew in a quarterback battle to see who gives you the best chance to win right now. No, you're going to throw him out there.
Yeah, so ESPN's got a list of 10. I narrowed it down to 5 that Greg Cosell and I are going to talk about later on the podcast. Tampa Bay, Arizona, San Francisco, Washington, and Atlanta are the only ones where it feels like those are actual quarterback competitions.
Yeah, like Tampa Bay. Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the most high-profile starting quarterback battle in the NFL? In Atlanta, I don't even see that. Who is Desmond Ridder competing with?
Heineke? Okay, very good analysis by you.
Will Levis working with the Titans' second-team offense. I had nothing else.
That's it. That should just be the analysis on the quarterback.
No, not doing it for me. Desmond Ridder starting for the Atlanta Falcons.
JR had your back, and you brought.
You think Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke are in a legit battle to be the starting quarterback?
I don't know. Desmond Ridder's a third-round pick. I don't think anything about Desmond Ridder.
Everything we hear out of there is that this is Desmond Ridder's job to lose.
Okay, if you say so.
Will Levis working.
I'm just there for Arthur Smith's mustache. I don't care about Desmond Ridder.
It is an impressive mustache. Levis working with the Titans' second-team offense. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. 50% say little deal. 26% say big deal. 24% no deal.
Little deal. Those the polls?
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. That was fun. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're back on the practice field tomorrow. Will Levis is expected to join us so we can talk to him about taking some opportunities with the second team and what that might mean as he continues to build. We had a lot of fun today. If you missed any of it, check out the podcast where you can always check out our training camp interviews or any of the interviews that we do on a regular basis. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever it is that you get your podcast. We're doing the install with Greg right after this. I've got a 615 sessions with Teron Davenport as well, too. So you can check for that in your podcast feeds. And Blaine and Mickey keep you entertained coming up next.